What it do, man? It's your boy Demarcus, and this is another episode of the Life of a Multifaceted Baby. Baby. Man, shout out to my Faceteer, man. My Faceteers. If you're part of the Faceteer gang, man, shout out to y'all, man. And I always appreciate the ones that tune in, tap in with your boy, the ones that have been a part of the journey, the ones that have appreciated my story, my stories, and just my perspectives. Shout out to the ones that tap into the daily thoughts. And, it's just a space to be able to talk about my understandings, my perspectives, and just really share different things that I come across in life. And I enjoy it. I really do. I believe I enjoy it more because I've gotten into the space over the years where I continue to share my narrative from my perspective, and it's not doing it in a way where it's like you trying to tell the people what to do or trying to really convince them. You know how people be like, "Oh, you should do this. Such and such said to do this," or it says biblically or spiritually you should do this. God says you to do this. But at the end of the day, if you're not living by certain things, nobody's going to listen to you. And even if you are, you have to let other people move in their own way and shine in their own light. And that's something I learned early on. Oftentimes my parents would be like, "Demarcus, everybody's not like you. Everybody's not going to do it the way that you do it." And then you realize as you get older, like some of those things that elders can say to you, like they may not have necessarily worked. They're telling you that, but they may not even see it for themselves. So you're kind of like, "Oh, you telling me this?" Like you kind of need to look at it from that perspective as well. But more importantly, as you continue to grow and evolve, you realize that like people gonna do what they're gonna do, and the best thing you could do is just share your story from your perspective. Because at the end of the day, because of how the world moves, a lot of people are afraid to be themselves, share parts about themselves because they feel that they may be judged, or they feel as if there's something that may be a bit different that they're not going to have a space where other people are going to be like them. So that's why I love sharing my perspectives and sharing who I am. And at the end of the day, I share all the flaws and all that too. Like it's not just sharing positive points and stuff like that. I mean, I don't even have to explain that because if you've really been tapped in, you've understood and you've seen how over the years I've continued to be able to share different parts about me. And there's a way in which you can do it where you can have privacy. You can be able to still not share every part of your life. Like this is more so just talking about things out loud. And for the ones that are truly tapped in with me, like obviously those folks know way more about me. But the whole point of sharing yourself and being authentic is because when you walk this walk in life and you continue just to get up each and every day and you continue to move forward and find a purpose. I mean, you could try to be somebody else. You can try to be a part of all these worldly things or whatever. But at the end of the day, like your soul's going to feel it. And if it doesn't, like, hey, you just leave this earth and have nothing that you were living for. And so for me, I'm like, the more that I can continue to live each and every day for me, um, for God, for the people around me, and also more importantly, live in a way to where I'm allowing myself to be human. Like that's important. So when we say allow ourselves to be human, it doesn't mean that you are here just being reckless and just doing whatever and just saying, "Oh, well, I'm a human." No, it's just like you're evolving and you're going through trials and tribulations. You're allowing yourself to be able to live, but you're allowing yourself to um, you're more so holding yourself accountable for the growth and depth. You're taking the things that come along with it. If there are L's that you take, mistakes or whatever, you're saying, you know what, like based on me learning this, I want to be able to change things in my life to be able to get a better outcome. But the biggest way that you can do that, and to summarize everything that I just said, is not have a limitation. And for today's episode, that's exactly what we're going to go into. The title for this episode is Limitations Are for Losers. Limitations are for fucking losers. And I'm going to say that very, very vulgar. Limitations are for fucking losers. And if you hear this and you're like, "Oh, the Marcus, your cousin," I don't even care. Like we grown adults, but I feel very firmly about that. Limitations are for fucking losers because when I think about my life and I think about how I'm continuing to evolve and I think about all the times where I plan to do something, was telling certain people about different goals that I have, or is expressing myself in a way to where I was literally trying to show up for others and help them to be able to see positivity in the things that they share with me. Oftentimes, I would run into where somebody was trying to limit me in the way in which I see the world, and I hated it. It's something to this day that I hate because at the end of the day, it's different if you're it's different if you're trying to speak to somebody in a way where something can't be realistic. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, if I want to have an event where I want to invite 10,000 plus people in a month, or about within a couple months, and I want to spend this amount, like, it's different from that perspective. I mean, that was kind of like a wild example, but I'm just saying something that you just know for a fact is just not going to be reasonably possible. I mean, come on now, like, I'm gonna need somebody to be like, hey, Demarcus, that's not good. That's not a good investment. But if it's something to where like I have goals and aspirations and saying, you know what, like I got a food brand where I really want to take it to a whole nother level and want to do these type of events, that type of events, and then you got people that's like, oh man, I don't know about that. Like, it's going to take you time. You might have to do it this way because such and such did it this way. I don't need to hear all that because at the end of the day, when we have different goals and things that we see, oftentimes for many of us multifacets, we've looked at different paths. We've seen people that have come before us that have taken certain routes. We may see people that have blown up. But when you look at things on the surface and you peel back a lot of the layers and you look at the details of how people have blown up, how people have made it, what worked for somebody, what didn't work for somebody, you got to separate that from who you are. And oftentimes what happens is that people associate possibilities and they associate success with how somebody else has gotten to a certain level in life or from what they see on the outside as far as an accolade or achievement or accomplishment. That is complete BS because something that we do see nowadays, especially when it comes to social media, we see these different outlets, we do see that for some of these folks and how they've gotten to a certain level, it wasn't based on talent. It wasn't based on them being personable, having a personality. It wasn't based on them having any really type of work ethic. Some people, it was like it was them gaining something along the way or getting put in a space to where they were forced to be able to learn something at a fast rate. It's not because they came in with it. So at the end of the day, the point that I'm making is that people can limit you because of their insecurities and because of what they see on the outside or whatever, but they may have not even thought of what it looks like to even dream. And for me, oftentimes, I'm always going to dream of things on a high level. I'm always going to think highly of myself and believing that I can achieve things at an exponential level. But it's also because what allows me to keep pushing through is just knowing that I'm going to keep putting myself out there and knowing that even in times where I thought that I didn't have enough, by me showing up and me trying or me pushing myself, I hate saying try, but me pushing myself through and me allowing myself to be in spaces where I was going in to learn and to not necessarily have to present myself as an expert. It allowed me to truly learn at where people were really at in those rooms. And I say this a lot because oftentimes, and I've got to blame the elders on this. A lot of times for the elders, when it comes to success, they look at it from a stardom standpoint, a celebrity standpoint. But we're seeing nowadays that for some of these celebrities and artists and all these famous people that they looked up to or whatever when they was younger, we see the real and how certain people have blown up, certain things that they've went through, negative situations that have happened, the politics, people that are famous and never got paid. We see all that stuff now, but when you talk to some of these elders, they just look at it as if you in the limelight, you've made it, which is ridiculous. Especially when now you have all these outlets and resources that say otherwise, but people want to stay in that. And for me, going back to the room situation, I've been in rooms where you'll sit there and talk to somebody and they'll be like, okay, this person is a go-to expert. They don't know nothing that's going on. They might just have the business and have somebody else doing it for them. Or there could just be like a lot of love that they got on social media at a certain period of time and things, they just had a funnel that was just working at that certain period. But they ain't really got no type of brand, or they don't have no personnel. They don't have no authenticity about them. They just lucked out that there was just a system that worked, or people were desperate enough to buy into something at a time to where they were hungry, or hey, they may have had good traction for a while and that ended up continuing and just things just didn't evolve. Like, I just look at it as like, if I'm speaking to someone that's truly growing and evolving, there's always going to be something I can learn, but also too, the energy is going to evolve with that. It's not going to be where somebody just has a brand and that's it. They got to have other things that's going along with that, or they've got to be able to have a personality, and they've got to be able to have authenticity in who they are. That's one thing that I can't stand is when you see people just having brands, but there's nothing to it. Now it's different if you say, like, if somebody has a couple businesses that they bought and then they literally just bought them and having somebody else run them. That's different. But like, you should still have your personal brand should still be the main part in which people see, and all the other stuff should be an extension to that. But again, we live in times nowadays to where it exposes that, because people are buying into the stories. People are buying into how people are showing up. And you see it a lot of times, even with these different groups that are created, group chats and all that. I mean, a lot of times people want to pitch all these different products and services that they have, but people are tired of just spending all this money and then the person that they spend it with is not shit. The person that they've gotten to know, or they thought that they knew for a long period of time, ends up showing their true selves and they be shocked. But that's because we've just been taught that if you see somebody that's on a certain type of level, then that means that they got it all together. And that's not true. But to take it a step back again, oftentimes the people that are telling you to do that, or the ones that are always hyping it up, are the ones that have their own limitations. They feel limited, so it's easy to look at somebody else that may be on a higher scale, or it's easy to say somebody else is their idol because of a level that they gotten to. But imagine calling somebody your idol, or looking at somebody as being this great or whatever, but you're not even taking time to like look at all the other things that have been. You're not even looking at the other areas that they're involved in. One, and then two, you're literally putting that as your measurement to what success looks like for your life. You're not even giving yourself grace to say, you know what, I may be way better skilled than this person in these other areas. But you're taking that level of success that they've gotten to, and you're making that as just like the end all be all. I just never understood that. I can have favorite artists and everything like that. Like I said before, Jeezy can be my favorite artist of all time, but he's not my idol. I don't idolize him or anybody else, because at the end of the day, that'd be going against God. But then also, like, why would I want to be so focused on somebody else's life, another man's life, to the point to where I'm not even focused on mine, and I don't even see direction for myself? Of course, I'm gonna be limited, because then I'm gonna feel like, okay, this level of success is gonna be based on this other individual. It don't make sense to me. So anytime that I think about life and I think about the direction that I'm going, I never look at somebody else's success and I say, well, this is like based on how they move, like I got to be like that. No, I can take snippets from people's lives. I can take certain things in which they say or do and add it to my life, but I also got to look at myself in a way where it's like, nah, they ain't got this, they ain't got this in their arsenal. They could use this, because there's different things where I see some from people that have been successful, or people that have told me that have had success and been like, DeMarcus, man, I wish I had that quality. Man, you doing this early, man. You thinking about this, like, if only I had that in my arsenal. So at that point, you're like, okay, like I'm really moving in the right direction. And it definitely is different when you hear it from people that have actually found success in certain areas, or they've showed up in a way where they've been able to make stuff happen. But you have those other people on the outside, a lot of the ones that never want to start anything, that always talk about what they're going to do. And those are the limitation losers. And it can be somebody that looks like that they have stuff going on, somebody that looks like that they're organized, somebody that looks as if they got motion, but they really don't. Because at the end of the day, you can talk about all this stuff, but if you're not making things happen, nothing's going to change. And oftentimes people are going to have a limitation because they can't even think that far. They're not capable of being able to do multiple things. They're not capable of being able to have parts of their personality that allow them to be able to build connections with different types of people, communicate and network. So of course they're going to have limitations towards you. But then you'll see where some of these folks, they'll backtrack. You may not talk to them for a minute, or you see how certain areas in their life start to move, and then okay, now all of a sudden, and then they want to do multiple things, and then they they backtracking on stuff that they said. So it's like, okay, like also now you've seen the vision, or maybe you seen it, or you thought that you seen something, but then you wanted to try to hold me back because you seen the rate that I was moving. We're not moving like that. So I say limitations are for losers because it is. It's something that holds a lot of people back. And more importantly, people will try to put you in a position of not evolving because you may be moving at a way higher, a way faster speed than they are, and they can't envision that. It almost shocks them to know that somebody else is moving at a more rapid level. But again, that's insecurity because to them it can look like you moving fast, but to me it maybe look like I'm not moving as fast as I want to. And I may just be actually paying attention to life lessons. I may be paying attention to conversations I've had, and I'm allowing myself to actually take these life events and turning it into something. See, a lot of people want to move through life and they don't even take time to stop and reflect. Like, how do you just keep getting up every day for a job and all you're doing is just giving your time and energy to that? And you want time and energy for yourself, but all you're doing is just going to work and you just doing whatever the job says. No. Like, I'm going to take a break if it's 15, 20 minutes in between my job and do something for myself. In a way, I can just be responding to a company's emails all day long, even if it has to do with the work that I'm doing, and I don't take a break for myself at all. At the end of the day, a company can make whatever decision that they want to. But all you're going to think about is years going to go by and you're like, I ain't never get to tell my story. I wanted to do these type of things and I never got to do anything. I still have a lot of ways to go and things that I want to do, levels that I want to reach, and all that. But I can say that I'm super proud of myself for the content I've been putting out, for all the things that I've been doing over the years, because it continues to be a level up for myself. It continues to be growth for myself. It continues to allow me to evolve into a whole different realm. Why? Because I'm not shying away from that. I'm not allowing myself to be limited. I'm not allowing myself to stay in the comfort zone. I'm not allowing myself to stay stagnant. And when I look back, especially in my 20s, there's been so many times where I felt cringy going into something new, getting out of a comfort zone, trying to start up a conversation, stumbling on my words or whatever it is, but I did it. And then I did it again, and then I did it again, and I did it again. There's times where I've held myself back, and I'm like, man, we're going to hold off, and we're going to do this at another time. There's going to be times where you do that, but eventually you get to where you're like, what am I holding back for? You just do it. And that's the thing. This is like, at the end of the day, years can go by, months can go by, weeks can go by. But once you get to a point to where you just say, I'm just going to do it, you do it. For the TikTok stuff, I was holding off for that for a minute. I said, man, I'm going to eventually find a certain way in which I want to start uploading my TikTok content. It's been moving slow. I may have gotten a couple followers, but I still say, you know what? Let me just say F it and just post a couple times a day. Post one time a day on my personal page. So then as I'm doing that, I said, okay, F it. Like, let's go ahead and get the skincare content rolled out. Was holding back on that. So I got that on YouTube. Now I'm 7 weeks into that. And so then it becomes a thing to where you're overthinking it because you're trying to focus on what type of traction you're going to get, what are the analytics going to look like, and you realize that you just got to go ahead and just put it out there because eventually, once you create a compelling story and once you continue to be able to do it in a way to where you're being authentic, you're going to find those people that actually are part of your community, are part of what you got going on. I had somebody message me the other day, a woman, and she was like, she's giving me tips on what I could do in regards to my kilos. But I was telling her, I was like, what you're telling me, I've already went through, but I appreciate you for doing that. She was like, hey, like, I wish I had somebody that was able to give me this type of information when I was first going through what I was going through. And that's what it's about. I have people liking my posts every day from when I posted my current updates for my skincare compared to how the kilos were a few years ago. You know what I'm saying? I had people reach out different times, and even at the times before when I had folks reaching out and being like, "Hey, I appreciate your content." I wasn't in a place where I was thinking about what it would look like to post content consistently. So as I continue to evolve, as I keep saying evolve, and be consistent in other areas of my life, it allowed me to be able to be present for this time. And I say that too because shout out to my guy, Coach Drew, and his school community. We were talking about. I had made a post, and I said, "Here's the post. I'm gonna read it to y'all." I said, 5 to 10 minutes can go a long way, and this was in the. This was talking about having hobbies. This was in his hobby chat. It says a hobby does not have to be something you spend a ton of time on, and it definitely does not have to be stressful. I work mine into my day, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes. After a long call or meeting, I put my focus somewhere else for a bit to reset. It is like studying. I can not do the same thing for hours and hours. I have to shift my mind or I'll burn out. Sometimes just stepping away for a few minutes and messing with the hobby, music, cooking, drawing, whatever, resets everything. Do not sleep on the power of those little breaks. You do not need a full hour. A quick hobby session can flip your whole mood, get your focus back, and make the rest of the day hit different. Then I asked, does anybody else fit in hobbies during their day? What works for you? And he had mentioned about him getting back into using his camera, and there was a point to where he was focused on like being like having to have like a rigid schedule and being perfect within that. But he said that he ended up like selling his camera before, and then now he's getting back into that. And he's like, you know what? Like I look at it as I can just spend a little bit of time on this and I'll be good. And I'm using that example because I'm saying that you can use that to a lot of different areas of your life. I look at it for content. It's like, okay, at first I was posting a few videos here and there, but I feel like because I had to have this rigid type of schedule when I'm posting or whatever, it didn't make sense to post. But then as I was recording last year, and then now as I went through the process of editing my videos, I'm like, man, I got to have these 20, 30-minute long videos. But I'm like, why? One, I ain't even at that creator type of level yet. So why not create 5 to 10 minute videos where somebody can at least be locked in and then make the next video more suspenseful, next video more suspenseful? Why do I feel like I got to do it at this crazy pace? So then me feeling like I have to do it at this high pace or whatever, that's going to deter me from even wanting to do it. I'm going to keep prolonging when I'm going to put these videos out. So now when I do my skincare stuff, because I'm doing it in small increments, one, I'm going at my pace. I'm building that suspense for people to be a part of the journey. And then also, two, I can get creative in the other things that I do. Same thing with my freestyles and all that. So if you listen to how other people talk about stuff or you listen to all this information that people want to put out there, people are going to put their limitations on you. And I know I've said this in other episodes, but I want to make an episode specifically for this. And people are always going to have commentary about what you should do, what you shouldn't do, because they're not doing it or they can't do it. Simple and plain. But once you start getting motion and once you start being somebody that tries things, it makes it so much easier to adjust because you're already doing the do. You're already doing what it do. So adjusting ain't nothing. Because at the end of the day, you're doing the hardest part, starting, putting things out there. Hey, eventually somebody's going to say, I can relate. So you're going to tell me that you're just going to hold back because of somebody else that ain't shit, that ain't got much going for themselves, that want to try to be somebody that they not, or they want to try to appeal to other people. You're going to let them be the person that steers you away from doing what you do? No, because every time you look back, when you continue to move forward, those same people are the ones that kept telling you about what you shouldn't do, and you still see that they in the same positions. Well, even if they made some small strides, it ain't nowhere close to how much that they were talking. So that's why I be staying in my lane. When I'm in certain rooms, I love to engage and have conversation, but I also listen a lot because then I see, okay, does the success or does the money this person have or make, does it actually add up to what they're trying to do? I was like, oh, okay. So you so focused on the money and you doing all this stuff and you ain't really aligned. You know what I'm saying? You just you get into a situation to where you're able to do, but this ain't really who you want to be. This ain't really fulfilling you. You fulfilling all this for other people. Okay, I heard you. Cool. I ain't gotta say nothing. I'm just sitting here listening and seeing. But then people can come back to me and be like, man, DeMarcus, like what you doing is super, super dope. I ain't making no money off of a lot of things. I don't have where I got brand deals and stuff, but I feel so fulfilled because it's who I am. It's all about me. It's a part of me. I get to share my story. So when it comes to a point to where I am able to financially benefit off of it and being able to get brand deals and take it to the next level, that's going to be even more beautiful because it has to do with being part of my story. It doesn't have to do with just what everybody else wants or does. It's about how DeMarcus has continued to grow. So, man, that's my episode for today. Definitely show love in the comments and stuff if that made sense. If you feel like people with limitations are fucking losers, please tell me because that's one thing that I cannot stand. Um, and that's one thing that I don't care what you're doing in life. When you're making moves, you're going to have somebody that's going to have a limitation. If I speak to any of my friends that has any type of idea what they want to do, I'm always pushing them to do it and try it. I've always been like that because at the end of the day, if you have an idea or whatever, go for it. If it's something that's crazy that don't make sense based on what you told me that you're trying to go after, or whatever, cool. Like I had a friend that just went to the Air Force about a month ago, and when she was telling me like her goals and stuff like that, I'm like, and I said, based on what you told me, this doesn't seem like it aligns with what you want to do. I'm not telling her like don't do this because I think this, because I think da 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 this and that, or I think that you should. No, I'm saying based on what you're telling me, it doesn't seem like this aligns. Okay, this person had to go figure their life out. I'm like, hey, DeMarcus, I want to do this. Great. Okay, go in that direction. You do that. Like if this is where you feel that your heart is, or something you want to try, you should do that. Give it a shot. If you don't like it, whatever the process is as far as you removing yourself, do that. But I'm not going to tell you to not do it because of what I think you should do. That's your life. Because at the end of the day, I know how it's felt for me when many people try to tell me what to do or what they think I should be doing. So that's why my perspective is the way that it is, because I know how many times there were moments I wanted to try things. I wanted to have friends in which I could do things with, build businesses with, create brands with, and a lot of that failed because people had they certain type of motives. They weren't willing to work together, or they weren't willing to see things past a ceiling. And for me, I'm like, I can't be stuck. I'm willing to put in the time and the hours to make things work, and I'm willing to put everything I have into it until it does fail. But I'm not going to just stop at the very beginning because a couple of people ain't buying it, because a couple of people ain't interested. Like, there's no business in the world where you're going to have everybody be to have buy-in from the jump. Like, that don't even make sense. But at the end of the day, that's why I'm moving the way that I do. And as I continue to do that, I'm finding more people that are in a similar type of space. And so that's why we're building these brands. We're continuing to create these platforms. That's why we do it in a way to where it's truly applicable to our lives. And hey, as we continue to evolve and grow, limitations don't even get it. Limitations don't even belong in the same room, because the moment we feel limited, that's the moment where it's like, DeMarcus, get out of that comfort zone. And it's not always easy. Being in your comfort zone and making yourself feel limited is different. Because oftentimes when you feel limited, there's still ways in which you can rely on something. I look at it from when I was making beats, starting off doing that. I was limited on the resources, but I'm like, at the same time, you're not even using what you have. So how can you truly feel limited? You don't even know how to fully use what you have, but you're saying that you feel limited? That don't even make sense. So it's your boy DeMarcus, man. Limitations are for the losers. And I'm gonna keep saying that loud and proud. And as I continue to be able to evolve, I am going to continue to stay in my lane and stay in my path and continue to stay spiritually aligned with God, continue to stay aligned with those in my life that show up for me the same way I'll show up for them, and the people that are truly about seeing me flourish because I want the same for them. So if you're not somebody that does that for the people around you, you might need to work on a few things. And at the end of the day, life is about continuing to become a better version of yourself, but then also not being afraid to go through certain challenges and hurdles. And I'm continuing to learn that. There's certain things in my life that I still want to do, that I want to focus on. And I'm always telling myself, I'm always thinking about ways in which I can attack that. But sometimes instead of me just focusing on the big overall picture about what it looks like to have $100 million brand or a $10 million brand, I need to look at what it looks like to have two customers that's willing to spend $10 with me at each and every event. That's the first step. It's cool to be able to have these big dreams, and everybody should dream, but sometimes it's like you got to be able to think from the beginning first. We ain't even thought about what it looks like to even to sell something, let alone somebody buy something. So then, okay, now we can take it to those next steps. But it's your boy DeMarcus, man. I'm up out of here. Um, Actually, before I do that, make sure you tap into the socials. I was hype. Um, YouTube page is the life of is the multifacets of DeMarcus. My TikTok and Instagram pages are that man Marco and Matching Up with Marco. And of course, this is the life of a multifacet. So appreciate y'all, man. Shout out to the Faceteers, and we up out of here. Peace.